Hello there, World of Tankers. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, World Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the Polish Tech Tree tank destroyers. This is something that I have been eagerly waiting to be dropped into the game. Polish tank destroyers feature a super cool mechanic where the closer you are, the more damage you deal, the further away, the less damage you deal. This is really nice because it will finally punish people that drive frontline tank destroyers and camp and spawn. How many times have you seen minnow players grind all the way down the line to then camp their butt in the back of the map? And it's just really cringe because the whole point of grinding the minnow is not to be a tank destroyer, it's to be a frontline, basically heavy tank. And this vehicle, well, not this tank because this is the tier 6, but the tier 8 and above feature a mechanic where if you are sitting, 150, 200 meters away, you're going to deal like 20%, 30% of your actual damage. And it's gonna defeat the purpose of camping in it, which is good. I think it's great. I think that you should be punished for camping in tanks that are meant to be and designed to be played frontline. But either way, in today's video, I'm going to be talking all about this line, starting with the tier 6, tier 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to be going over their statistics, and I'll be letting you know my personal feelings of each of the vehicles as we make our way through. So if you enjoy content like this and you want to see more videos in the future, you'll see it first here and only here. All right, let's get into it. Starting off, we have the SDP44 Bersza. This tier 6 is, I'm going to be real, guys, I think the most overpowered tank I've seen in a very long time. Wargaming, if you watch this video, please nerf this thing. I know you normally don't touch tier 9 and below because you don't ever test them, but whoever balanced this vehicle needs to be, like, mentally checked, bro. Like, what? Alright, so this is 180 millimeters of pen. You can see right in the corner here, right? This is 180 mils of pen. I'm going to put on Enhanced Armor and Cali. Now this is 194 mils of pen. Remember, this is tier 6. Most tier 6s have about 200 and maybe 20 millimeters max premium pen. Okay? The upper plate, or the hull of this vehicle, yeah, you read that right, 271. Let's click the other side. Yeah, 260. Uh-huh, that's correct. That is indeed correct. Let's load 250 millimeters of gold. Yeah, this is what the tier 6 looks like against 250 millimeters of premium pen. This is without even using the gun depression, guys. This tank has enough armor that basically no tier 6 will pen it when it's using gun depression. And even on flat ground, really, you're not going to get penned. Even the upper plate's over 220. Yeah, this is probably the most overpowered tier 6 armor profile I've ever seen. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And by the way, the gun's pretty good. It has 2300 DPM, which is quite solid for a tier 6 vehicle. It has a decent alpha at 280. The vehicle's not incredibly slow at 32 kilometers per hour. This thing needs to be nerfed. I don't know what the heck Wargaming was smoking when they made this tier 6 tank destroyer. It's gonna be overpowered. It needs to be nerfed. It has too much armor. I would say maybe 220 millimeters of upper hull armor with enhanced on is more like it. 270 to 260 millimeters is ridiculous. I don't know, guys. You can let me know in the comments what you think, but I feel like that armor is just way too strong for a tier 6. Let's move on to the tier 7, the Gonka. This is a really ugly tank. It's like Wargaming took the LTG and turned it into a tank destroyer. But it does have a lot of armor. We're going to put on Enhanced, and the whole line, you should be running Enhanced Armor when it does get released. And this tank actually looks pretty balanced. I would say out of the whole line, this is the most balanced vehicle. We can see that it has these little corner cutouts here, which are only about 150 to 120. And those are going to be pens no matter really what angle you put the vehicle at. And that's nice. It means that really no matter what, there's going to be some sort of weak spot that people are going to be able to shoot. But the actual hull armor is still crazy strong. With 6 degrees of gun depression, this vehicle is upwards of 260 millimeters against AP. And if we load heat, which is what actually shows the true value of armor, it's about 280 millimeters effective. So against tier 7s, that's really good, right? I mean, the average tier 7, let's get out like the average tier 7 heavy. How about a T29, right? T29's got about 245 premium pen, even if you're running Cali. The whole upper plate's red. So most tier 7s are going to seriously struggle to cut through this thing. It is going to be a very, very challenging pen. Tier 8s, yeah, they'll be able to cut through you, but tier 7s are going to really struggle. And I think that is pretty balanced, to be honest. When it comes to the upper plate, it's only 97 thick, and it's so close to where the gun's mounted that I think this vehicle is actually going to be challenging to hide that upper plate and get bounces. The lower plate's actually thicker than the upper, but it's not going to matter because, yeah, that's just a super big weak spot. So this tank actually looks pretty balanced. The gun is very nice, 360 damage per shot, decent DPM at 2300. Its dispersion is kind of meh, kind of reminds me of the Minnow line where the guns aren't great, but they aren't awful either. Shell velocity is really good though, 1100, and obviously it has APCR premium, which has a ridiculous 1200, so this thing's got really good shell velocity. It's not the most mobile, but that makes sense because, again, it is a heavily armored vehicle. But yeah, I think the Go Wika is going to be pretty balanced for the most part. Really, things start to become crazy overpowered when we get to the tier 8 and above. Okay, so the tier 8 is the Keana. This vehicle, I remember on World of Tanks PC, when I made maybe 2 videos on it, the tank was incredibly overpowered. It probably was one of the most overpowered tanks I ever played on PC. So what makes this vehicle so strong? Well, first of all, we have the armor profile. This upper plate is 293 thick base against APCR. So if we actually get, again, a vehicle that has premium heat, it's upwards of about 300 thick. Yeah, the upper plate on this vehicle is 300 thick on flat ground. Using the 6 degrees of gun depression, you will need over 330 millimeters thick. I mean, that armor is good at tier 10, let alone on a tier 8 tank destroyer. Tier 7s will physically not be able to pen you, even on flat ground. The most pen I can think of on tier 7s, apart from, I guess, certain tank destroyers, are like the Smasher, which has like 280 millimeters of pen. No tier 7 heavies are going to be able to pen you, just certain tank destroyers like the SU-100M1. That is insane. Even tier 8s are not realistically going to be able to pen you if you're using slight gun depression. I mean, let's go down to tier 8 and, you know, we go to the heavies. Let's get out a, how about a T-77? That's 250 millimeters, 280 millimeters. Yeah, you just can't pen it. And the craziest part about this vehicle is that it also features, when frontline, 3,500 DPM. Yeah, you heard that right. Now, the DPM decreases a lot as you're further distance away, right? So your DPM at 50 meters is 3,500, and your alpha damage is 476. At 120 meters, your DPM is still very good at 3,020, but your average damage goes down by 68 to now 408 damage per shot. Anything past 120 meters and your damage drop-off starts to become a big problem. Now you're at 340 damage per shot. DPM is still not awful, though, to be fair. And then anything past 200 meters, you're sitting at 2,000 DPM. You know, it's really sad. Even at 200 plus meters, that DPM is still the same as your average tier 8 heavy. So at worst, you're really going to be sitting at still usable DPM, which is why Wargaming needs to make the damage drop off more. You should be sitting, in my opinion, at like 1,500 DPM at this mark here, and like 2,000 DPM at this mark here, and then 2,500 here, and then 3,500 here. That's how I would do it, because I think you should heavily be punished for camping in these vehicles. The fact that right now it's still not really that big of a punishment to sit further back, I don't agree with fully, but yeah, the DPM on this thing is going to be insane. 476 damage per shot, 3,500 DPM. You only have an 8-second reload, guys, for a 476 alpha gun. That is ridiculous. It's insane, really, when you take a second and think about it. And the penetration is pretty good. I mean, it's got 250 standard pen, 310 on the gold. You don't even need to run Cali, but if you do, you got 326. It goes 36 kilometers per hour, by the way, so it's not slow. Its power to weight ratio is decent as well. Like, this thing's going to be really, really scary to go up against. But that's just the tier 8. Let's get to the tier 9, the Gonka Vita. I never know how to pronounce it. Tier 9, I actually thought was going to be the tier 10 due to the legendary camo that Wargaming had leaked, but unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but the tier 9 is actually the tier 9 from World of Tanks PC. This vehicle, again, has ridiculous levels of armor. The upper plate is 335 on flat ground. Yeah, you heard that right. So let's, again, get premium shells. 343 against heat. So a Sheridan, which has 350 millimeters of heat pen, will struggle to pen you on flat ground. if you are using the 6 degrees of gun depression this tank has, the upper plate is going to be upwards of 370 to 414. So basically, most tier 10s will not be able to pen you, unless it's tank destroyers. And even then, tank destroyers will struggle to pen you. Let's get out a vehicle like, a tier 10 tank destroyer. How about an E4? This is what an E4 sees with Cali, but if you're not running calibrated on your tank destroyers, it's going to be all red. That's just insane, the level of frontal protection this vehicle has. And the gun is even scarier. The gun on this vehicle gives you 4,000 DPM. Yes, you heard that correct. It's sitting at 610 damage per shot. 4,006 damage per minute. So we can see that at 50 meters, you have 609. Even at 120 meters, you still have 3,400 DPM and 522 damage per shot. At past 120 meters, we're sitting now... Actually, no, this isn't even 120 meters here. This is within 120 meters. Within 200 meters, you're sitting at 2,800 DPM and still 435 damage per shot. And then finally, your DPM actually becomes pretty meh once you arrive at 200 plus meters. So again, I think the damage drop-off needs to be heavily nerfed. I think that if Wargaming wants these vehicles to have 4,000 DPM with 600 damage per shot and that level of armor, this tank needs to be nerfed. I mean, it's a little too strong. I think you guys will agree. 36 kilometer per hour top speed, has a power to weight ratio of 14.4, 9.6. It's definitely not going to be a mobile tank, but I don't think it really matters. Just imagine a 113 GFT with 4,000 DPM. That's really the best way to describe it. Finishing off, we have the NC70 Bliss Vita, and this is definitely going to be the scariest tank of them all. Actually, the tier 9 is going to be just as scary, but the Bliss Vita has 4,200 DPM, making it the highest damage per minute tier 10 in the game. On flat ground, the upper plate's going to be 350 millimeters thick, and if we are actually, again, realistically getting an idea, you got to load premium heat, so it's about 370 at weakest, about 370 millimeters thick on flat ground. Has no real hatches. I mean, that is a hatch, but it's so small that hitting that is going to be almost impossible. Using the 6 degrees of gun depression, the upper plate at weakest is 406, and if you're aiming at the upper parts, it's upwards of 440. So to really get a good idea of what kind of armor you're looking at, let's get a E4, let's load Cali. This is what a tank destroyer, a tier 10 tank destroyer running calibrated shells sees against this vehicle using its 6 degrees of gun depression. Yeah, that's right. You will basically not be able to pen this tank with premium heat on a tank destroyer. Yeah, that's right, guys. This tank's armor is insane. It is absolutely insane. Mediums will have no way to pen you unless you have your lower plate exposed. Heavies will have no way to pen you unless you have your lower plate exposed. And, not to mention, you're going to have a gun that does 700 damage per shot with a 10-second reload. So you guys can take a second and realize how overpowered that's going to be. Now, sure, when you're at 120 meters of distance, you have 600 damage per shot, but that's still 3,600 DPM. Even at 120 to 200 meters, you're sitting at 3K DPM, bruh. The damage drop-off needs to be bigger. Like, a lot bigger. I don't know really what to say here, because this tank is going to be overpowered as hell. It goes 44. It has a decent level of mobility, and even the camo values are not bad. This tank is going to be busted if it goes into the game with these statistics. Wargaming, I would love to have a conversation with you and share my opinions on how I would balance this vehicle, but I can tell you right now that the overall statistics this tank has going for it are going to be broken. And the best way to explain that is really by pulling out the 113 GFT, right? The 113 GFT is considered one of the strongest tier 10s in the game. It is still the second highest performing tier 10. And the reason why is because of the level of frontal protection it has. On flat ground, the upper plate's about 318, and if you're using the 6 degrees of gun depression, it's about it's about 380 millimeters thick. That is really strong. I mean, you guys have aimed in on this vehicle. Most tier 10 heavies, mediums, are not going to be able to pen you frontally. This is about 40 to 50 millimeters less effective on armor compared to the tank we just showcased, the Bliss Vita. Just take a second and think about that. This tank's armor profile is going to be about 30% worse than the tank that is projected to come into the game. And not only that, it has 1,000 less DPM. Its damage per shot is 50 less. It's not even close. It's just not even close. I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say. This new line is going to be overpowered beyond belief if Wargaming doesn't nerf them heavily. They need to make the damage drop off much larger across distance, and the armor needs to be nerfed across the whole line quite substantially. I would say the armor needs to be about the same as the 113 GFT on the tier 10. Anything past that, and it's just too good. You can't allow a vehicle to have 4,000 DPM, the most armor in tier 10, and a top speed of 40 plus kilometers per hour. You are asking for cringe incarnate. But you guys can let me know what you personally feel in the comments down below. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and as always, if you did, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.